What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing this fine evening, this Friday evening? No, it's Saturday. Oh, that's right. It's Saturday. I pulled a fast one on you. Pulled a fast one on you, and now we're streaming on Saturday. Just for today. I don't know. How was everybody's week? Did we have a good week? Did we have a terrible week? However the week went, I want to know how it went. I just realized I turned down the music for you, but not for me, so it's still like pounding in my ears. Alright, who do we got in the house? I see Cassie! My beautiful friend! And I see Elise. And I see Lee. Good to see you all. Nanu, good to see you. Spectral, Specs, always a pleasure. Oh, it's nice to join everybody on this fine... on this fine Saturday, yes. I'm trying to read and respond at the same time, and that doesn't always work. Flower Dragon, Laura, good to see you. Been a bit of a crazy week. See how every week sucks these days. I mean, look, I get that. I know a lot of us. I'm there too. I'm in that place where like every fucking week sucks. But if there's a little joy you found out of something, if there's just one moment of joy you found during the week, I wouldn't mind hearing about it. Thank you, Mr. Music. Everybody thank the music. No more music. Elise says it's been a day, but I feel better now after calling an a-hole out. You know, there's nothing like a good moment to call an asshole out. I really hope you had a mic drop moment. I hope you had the mic drop moment. So today, my friends, we're not going to be reading articles, thank God. Instead, we're going to be watching a little bit of a campaign thing, rally. Actually, not a campaign. What am I using? That's not the right word. So it's rallies. There's been rallies going on by both Bernie Sanders and AOC, sort of a fight oligarchy movement. So I thought we would just like randomly pick a rally today and see what their message is all about, because I haven't had the time this week to really look into that. So, but with a strong title such as Fight Oligarchy, I mean, I don't think there's going to be much I'm going to find that I disagree with here, but I'm not specifically going to watch this to look for things to disagree with. I'm just going to like soak it in and see what happens. So we're going to watch like the rally in that was held in Denver. And when was this held? It was just like yesterday, I think. Like a day ago. It was either yesterday or Thursday. But we're just going to watch and just like kind of see what they're talking about and soak it in and see what aligns with being Neogenian. For those of you who are new, my name is Jan. I am Neogenian. I like to live stream. I like to talk about things that are going on in the world, especially now because there's so much. So I think now is the time to speak up more than ever. And sort of just putting myself on display to look at the shit in the world and not really be reactionary per se, but, you know, be a little bit more live time with things. I hate how the word reaction has sort of been bastardized recently. But so have a lot of words. Here we are. You're not hearing me well. Laura says, I'm not really hearing you well on the phone while watching you on it. gotta get up. Well, you're on the phone. Get off the phone. What do you want me to do about that? Yell? Laura! Okay, sorry. Sorry for anybody who was wearing headphones. Oh, Mark. What's up, Mark? Mark's one of our beautiful moderators in the house. I miss live streaming. It's fun. It's fine. So yeah, we're just gonna hang out a little bit and chit chat until we get started. I think this rally we're gonna watch, it's only about, it's gonna be about an hour, which is like what I like to cap live streams off. Is about an hour these days. I kind of miss doing longer live streams, but man, it takes a lot. Like, especially if you go all day, you gotta plan like lunch breaks, all these things. I kind of like just going an hour because, you know, I actually sit here. Mark says the Midas Touch Network has great coverage on the Bernie AOC rallies. I do like Midas Touch. Very much so. Let's see. Lee, good to see you. I think I've already said hello. I don't know. It's that thing. If I repeat saying hello to you, just pretend it's new. And if I forget, let me know. Today on my beverage menu, I actually have a beer. Why? Because I'm celebrating my birthday. Technically it's tomorrow, but I'm turning 37, which is like crazy. Honestly, I honestly never imagined myself being this old. I don't say the word old as in I actually think I'm old. I just mean like, wow, that's, 37. It's getting close to 40. I think that's what I'm so bothered by. It's like when you turn 35, you're like, mid 30s. And then 36, you're like, I'm still mid 30s. And now 37, I'm just like, the big 40 is creeping up behind me. So, yeah, I have a couple of Sapporos. Like a few Sapporo beers. Nothing serious. Just some, grocery store beer. Cassie's like, shit, still mid-30s. No, we're getting... Okay, so never mind the argument of if 37 is still technically mid-30s or not, or late 30s. Something about turning, 37 is making me think about turning 40 soon. And I did the exact same thing when I was 27. When I was 27 and 28, I was just like, oh God, this is it, the 30s, holy fuck. Like, there's just something about hitting that mark, of just 27, 28. You start to think about the next decade of your life. I think that's what it is more than anything. So it gives you sort of like an existential moment of just like, what have I been doing with my life? What do I need to do in the future? All this shit. So it's like the same shit I went through, like the same kind of feelings I had when I was 27 and 28, thinking about turning 30. Only now it's like I'm thinking about turning 40. So, but I don't fear aging. I don't fear growing old. I'm actually I quite enjoy it just because I don't know. I feel like it's a right to age, to mature, to gain experience. Even if I look old, that's my right. I don't think I look old. I think that's the other thing that makes turning 37 weird, is I look in the mirror and I genuinely do not see a 37-year-old looking back at me. Like, if anything, and mentally and how I feel I look or how I view myself, I'm definitely still I'm 28 still. I'm 10 years behind than the amount of times I've actually been around the sun. But that's the thing about age anyways. Really, it's just based around how many times you've been around the sun. So who the fuck cares? If we based age on any other thing, we wouldn't have such arbitrary concepts such as 30s, 40s, and what you should and shouldn't be doing, like what society expects of you to be doing at those times or those decades of your life. So, oh well. Alberto says I look like I'm 27. Thank you. I hope I look really young. I'm at the point where like if I get carded for like booze or anything like that, like if I get asked for my ID, I'm like, thank you so much. So, do I look under 21? Thank you. It's a blessing. Laura says we don't get old. We are like fine wine, improving over time. See, I like that. See, I'm not getting old. I think aging is a better term. I don't know, because aging implies like kind of like with wine and stuff, like things that just get better. I'm just fermenting. Yeah, I'm just fermenting. Me, my personality, my whole being, my essence. Like we're just fermenting here in this body. Don't be ageist against yourself. I don't know. What do you all think? Do you fear growing old at all? Like, or being old, or aging, or like? I'm always curious how people feel about that. Being old and frail. I don't think I'm gonna be frail. Definitely not. I'll probably live till I'm 90. Then I'll be in a wheelchair, partying it up. Fermenting. Yeah, I mean, just I'm not aging. I'm fermenting. Basically marinating myself. And Cassie says I do and I don't, but it's inevitable. See, that's the thing. We don't really have a choice. I mean, you kind of you can decide how you're going to feel about it, but like even from when I was like really young, I was just like I can't wait to be older. And now that I'm older, I'm like this is great. Alberto says I'm 69 and feel 25. Yeah. Another weird thing too is I think back to the time when I was really little and how I perceived people who were like my age now, like perceived people who were like 37 to like 40. And when I was little, it seemed like those people looked way older than like people at that age now. I don't know if it's just some evolutionary thing or whatever, but it's like older people look a lot younger now. I feel like the fifth like being in your 50s is like the new 30, which is frankly how I think it should be. I think we should have a longevity of life where like when you're turning 50, it's like now life's really going, you know? Like now you've really got some experience under your belt, you're ready to decide shit. I think we should all live at least from like 90 to 120 at least, like in a nice healthy way, not just some like Methuselah decrepit fucking white wispy haired like crypt keeper like in a wheelchair. Yeah, just fermenting, getting more potent as life goes on. Mark says, if I have the good fortune to live as long as my oldest grandparent did, I've slightly more than 40 years remaining to get to 96. I don't want to be poor for the second half of my life. Yeah. Laura says I'm 72 on the outside, but 22 on the inside. Sometimes I feel like I'm 102. See, I definitely like I love that because like if I live to be as old as Laura is right now, like I still have like a whole ass other lifetime. I don't mean to be put you on the spot, Laura. I mean it like endearingly, like a good thing, like a very exciting, motivating thing. Like I have a whole like other set of like 37 to 40 years to live. Like bring it. Bring it. I am just scratching the surface. Oh yeah, I need to take my vitamin. Yeah, take your vitamins. All right, friends, should we get watching this rally? Let's do it. Let's get the ball on the road. We're going to watch this rally by AOC Bernie. Let's see what they have to say. I haven't seen any of these yet. I've just been like seeing the headlines and stuff like that. So let's see how it goes, how I take this in. I kind of like fast forward it here to when AOC starts. Music. I'm really concerned about the music here. Hold on. There's still music. She says, are you ready to fight? Are you ready to win? Are you ready to build a better world? There's still music going on. Okay, no more music. Sorry, I just didn't want to get clapped for that.
Thank you all so much for making the effort and taking the time out of your day to be here in community with us today. Thank you. Now, Greeley. Well, first of all, my name is Alexandria. As AOC, but I'm so happy to be here today, and thank you so much for welcoming me to Greeley. I really appreciate it. Now,
I feel really sad for anybody who lives in a place that's pronounced Greeley. Jesus Lord, just end me.
Now I hear that you have a representative who has not done a town hall. You know, I will say, usually your first 3 months on a new job, you are on your best behavior and working your hardest and doing your best. I don't know if anyone's had like a probationary period at a job before. Could you imagine if we had those for members of Congress? Anyways, all of that is to say, if this is the best that you all are getting, I think you deserve better. I think you deserve better. Now,
I mean, it's kind of sad. I mean, I know there's a lot of other people in support of this, like, clearly, but it's kind of sad to only see, like, two, like, major figures, like Bernie and AOC, hit, like, the issue, like, right on the head with, like, the oligarchy thing. And I'm not saying it's bad, obviously, we want this, but, it's just, I don't know, more? More. I want more. Let's see. We just got started.
Now, my home is a ways from here. But in truth, I think the distance between us is a lot shorter than we think, and even that we're told. And in fact, I think that we are all here together because we share in the frustration and the heartache that comes from watching those in power actively tear down or refuse to fight for everyday working Americans like us. And I really get it. I was born in a working class family. My mom cleaned houses. My dad worked really hard to try to start a small business in order to do their best to give a better future to my brother and I. And, you know, they worked really hard. And for a minute, it looked like our American dream was within grasp. We grew up and we really struggled, but my parents worked so hard, and it really started to feel like things were starting to work out. I worked really hard. I was able to get into college, and suddenly my dad was diagnosed with a really rare cancer out of nowhere.
See, I wish the Democrats and Kamala Harris's campaign. I've said this like a billion times. It's just like old shit. It's not even a hot take or a unique take. Like plenty of other people say this too. But if the Democrats only like went with like a hard like working class narrative, we might have had like a better chance. But no, they had to. The Democrats just kind of went like soft right or as right as possible.
And by the time I was 18 years old, he had passed away. And I think this is an experience, while it is...
There's something really interesting happening here, and it's something I want you to take note of. When you look at like different like sort of movements or messages like from people, take a note of like how they portray that message, because it's not always like the same. Like in this instance, and in a lot of like progressive movements, it's very narrative based. It comes with like telling of like a personal story to like get that hook in. When it comes to more like white nationalist movements and things like that, it's a lot about you know, defending like honor, like don't what's the word, betray, like you can't betray us and things like that. Like it's very sort of antagonistic. But keep paying attention to like how movements deliver their messages is something that's important to do. Jesus, why am I stuttering so much? Get the thoughts out, Jan.
Really difficult. I think a lot of us have had experiences like these where...
Mark says, yes, we have center-right corporate party with a living left wing, and the other majority party have been radicalized into fascism. That's a hell of a choice. Yeah, it is. I just, you know, it was like hopeful for a second with Kamala, but then it's just like, you guys just like the Democrats went to like center right, and it's like, come on, you had an opportunity, you had a historical opportunity, and now look, people like AOC and Bernie have to pick this narrative up afterwards. The narrative of like uniting all minorities and people under like the working class is something that I think would be really important to do in order to combat all this shit, because we all really have to get a grip and fucking unite against the real people that are trying to bring us down.
Where we work so hard, and we are one event away from feeling like the whole rug got pulled out from under us.
We're not already there.
And
oh yeah, she's talking about it.
We shouldn't have to live like that. We shouldn't have to live like that. You know, after my dad passed away, my mom then overnight was basically a single mother to 2 kids. She was cleaning houses. She started driving school buses. And when I graduated from college, I started waiting tables in order to help make ends meet. And this was right after the Great Recession, and folks know how hard it was to come by a job at that time. And so that's when I started waiting tables to make ends meet. And I know that, you know, we just deserve so much better than this. We do. We deserve so much better than this. And we're here together because an extreme concentration of power and corruption is taking over our country like never before. And we are here because we do know that a better world is possible. But to get there, we need to be honest about where we are right now. We are witnessing an oligarchy in America. And that is when those with the most economic, political, and technological power destroy the public good to enrich themselves, while millions of Americans pay the price. And our political system is ill-prepared for this abuse of power. In fact, much of our political system enables it, starting with the role of money in politics. But I'm here to remind you, Greeley, that we are not powerless in this moment. People are starting to put the pieces together.
Unfortunately, now just starting.
You know,
Even though a lot of us had the pieces put together well before all this shit show like went down. Honestly, I'm surprised this hasn't happened like earlier. Like, I don't know. It's interesting how this is all unfolding now. I'm really surprised it hasn't happened earlier. With the amount of opportunity of significant red waves. Mark says, Project 2025 has a core agenda to transfer wealth from the poorest 40% to the already richest 1%. The rest is pernicious identity politics with real consequences, but that's the core of it. Yeah, I mean, you gotta realize these people, like the administration, current administration and stuff, and all these like rich assholes like Elon Musk and stuff like that, like they really don't care about like the political squabbles like people have, like the right versus left, this, that, whatever stokes the coals in the fire of their income or their earnings, whatever works. I was just looking today. I guess Elon Musk made this weird statement about blaming trans people for like the damages to Tesla property and things like that. Something about like hormones, and I just like it's just, I mean, first of all, everything he says is fucking idiotic, but it's just like, it's so far-fetched. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me with this nonsense? Elon Musk is a lot like J.K. Rowling, where he just fucking hates trans people. I don't know why. I don't know what is with these people. Like, get a grip. Get a hobby. Go fuck yourself. I don't know. Get a better dildo. Something. Leave me out of it.
I do think that, sorry, we're not, people are starting to put the pieces together. And in fact, ironically, most of the divisive forces in our country are actually bringing more of us together than ever before. And that's important, because the same billionaires are taking a wrecking ball to our country, and they derive their power from dividing working people apart. They specialize in getting us to turn on one another. Yeah. And they get us to turn on one another along lines of left and right, race and gender, creed and culture. They will throw out every label and judgment and cultural debate in the book to keep us distracted. Because the last thing they want us to realize is that the division that is actually hurting our country the most is how endless greed is costing the lives of everyone else.
I mean, when it's saying like this whole left versus right shit is just a distraction, that doesn't mean like don't pay attention to it. I mean, it's there, unfortunately, whether you like it or not. It's there. It's a part of our lives. You kind of can't function without having a conversation about it into some capacity. So it's like saying like, oh, this is just a distraction doesn't mean fucking ignore it. It just means like keep your eye on the prize, man. Like, squabble in the dirt, fine, you kind of have to. You have to roll around in the mud with all this bullshit. But keep your eye on the prize on who's setting up these fights. You know? Well, you're gonna have to fight. Make sure you keep your mind on who's setting up the fucking fights. Because they're next. Anyways. I just had to say that because sometimes I get a little irritated when it's like, when you talk about certain issues, like left versus right, this versus that, blah, 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 and then some punk comes in and it's like, well, this is just a distraction. It's like, so are you by saying this. It's like, yes, we get it. Still have to talk about these things. Thank you, Captain fucking Obvious.
They want us to think that our lives are suffering because of the LGBT kid down the street, or because of the mixed status family or the dreamer down the block who's just trying to make a better life for themselves. But we're smarter than that, Greeley. We know better than that. And I understand that this kind of disdain that the wealthiest people in this country have for the working class doesn't doesn't just come from them not being raised right. It's shorthand for the right wing's entire political agenda and a certain ugly kind of politics. A politics that involves lying to and screwing over working and middle-class Americans so that they can steal from our health care.
Seriously? I mean, it's like in Sociology 101. Like, one of the most dangerous threats to, like, the economy and society is the disappearance of the middle class. That goes... Oof.
Social Security and veterans benefits to pay for tax cuts for the wealthiest and bailouts for their crypto billionaire friends. And you know, Greeley, there's a word for this kind of thing. Corruption.
Atrocity.
And I know how seeing all of this stack up, from how overwhelming and selfish all of this is, from seeing the notifications on our phone popping up, Monday, the Department of Education being rolled back, Tuesday, trying to end birthright citizenship.
Elise says, I was told today that being aware of politics and caring was being negative and ruining positive vibes. Like, what? You know, that's so tough. You know, hold on. Like, I love my mother to death, but she's very much, like, well, just don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news in a decade, and if you don't watch the news, then you feel better. It's like she's just fine in her little bubble. And I had to, like, last time I talked to her, I had to, like, try to, like, very gingerly explain to her, I'm like, I am, like, past the point of no return. Like, if there was an option to become ignorant of what I know now about reality and the world, I would take it. But that's not a possibility. That's not an option. Like, I can't be caught off guard, you know? But, you know, I'm not gonna tell her that she should start watching the news and paying attention to all that shit, you know? It's just like, whatever, she's my mom. She's in her way, but it's just like, she kind of has that attitude of just like, well, if the world's bothering you so much, and if you're internalizing what's happening in the world, just don't look at it. And I'm just like, that is not an option. That is, like, with my life's mission, my life's calling, and, like, everything I stand for, like, all of my philosophical principles as, like, a Neogenian, like, that is just not an option. So, I'm just trying to work on the balance. Anyways. I feel like I have to pee and I don't want to.
I get how all of it can make us feel despair. And I get how even it can make the best of us feel like giving up and giving in. And trust me, that is by design. That is by design. When the system is stacked against you, it's hard to feel like anything you do matters. It's hard to feel like we matter in this democracy. And it is easy to give in to despair. And I can tell you that for a while there, when I was...
There's always something you can do. And that's actually like what my whole project is like in my sociology research class, is just like looking at ways to participate in movements where if you're not capable of like rioting at the not rioting but like protesting at the rioting it's what fucking Fox News would call it anyways, but like, you know, protesting in person, all of this stuff, if you don't have those capabilities and you're just stuck at home like on your phone, like what can you do that isn't like considered slacktivism or just like doing like below the bare minimum? Like, how can you actually participate in things like that? There's a ton of fucking ways. But no, never feel like there's nothing you can't do. Well, when you do feel like there's nothing you can't do, go ahead and feel that, but just keep in the back of your mind that it's not going to feel like that forever, and there's always going to be a way out. This too shall pass.
Working double shifts, tired to the bone, I did try to give up. I tried to stop caring. I tried to just keep my head down and work my shifts and accept that this is just it and this is how things are. But that is no way to live. It's no way to live. And what I do know is that we do not have to live like this. In fact, we cannot live like this anymore. And I'll say, Donald Trump does see the immense pressure that working people are under. But his answer is an America that operates on the principle of every man for himself. Divide and conquer. And now that Trump is back in...
This is that sort of like Western capitalistic mentality that I'm starting to become more aware of, that I'm having a problem with. It's this sort of like attitude where, like, if you work like 4 jobs and only sleep 2 hours a night, then you feel so emboldened. You're like, I'm the best, I'm doing the thing. And it's like, why aren't you pissed about that? It's just the whole attitude of like every man for themselves. Like, I gotta get my house, I gotta get my cave, I gotta get my woman, I gotta get my meat, make my fire, all that stuff. And there's just no community into it. Like, American culture is so individualized, and I think it's deeply rooted into people, even if they don't think it is. It's it's just constantly trying to find your main character role in the world, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of main character desires, but you got to realize that, like, at the end, everybody's the main character of their own life, and we're in this reality with other souls, and we're all a part of each other. You got to have that sense of community at the end, of the collectiveness, this mentality of just like work yourself to the bone and just to get ahead of others and keep other people pushed down so they can't get ahead of you. It's not working.
Power, we see it clear as day. He's handed the keys to Elon Musk and is selling off our country for parts to the wealthiest people in the world for a kickback. And in exchange, those billionaires and oligarchs will back his campaigns and bankroll those of his allies. They scratch his back, and he scratches theirs, and all of us are left behind. And the clever thing that these guys sell is making working people like you and me believe that we're just one step outside from that club, that we're just a little bit out from being able to be a billionaire too, right? Any billionaires in this room? I didn't think so. Now, it's this idea that if we just work hard, we too can have nation-state level money. Except these kinds of spoils aren't earned, really. They aren't working for these billions. They're stealing them. They're stealing them. They're stealing them from you and me.
Because you can't start making that level of money without shafting other people and pinching pennies in ways that other people suffer. You really can't.
Just look at what Elon Musk and Donald Trump are doing to our health care, our veterans' benefits, and Social Security. They are slashing programs that we and you have spent a lifetime paying into. And by the way, not them, because those billionaires haven't paid their fair share of taxes in years. And mind you, even if you're not on Medicaid or Medicare, this also raises your private health insurance costs too. And let's talk about Medicaid and Medicare for a second. Because your representative, Dave Evans, you know that guy that hasn't been showing up for the last couple months? Maybe he hasn't been showing up because he voted to cut Medicaid. In fact, every single House Republican voted to cut Medicaid. And they'll tell you, no, I didn't, it didn't say that. But here's what it is. They voted on a budget that cuts $880 billion from the committee that's in charge of Medicaid. And so now they're trying to play a game and say, we didn't do that because they did by proxy, okay? So let's set the record straight. And you see, these budgets aren't just fights about numbers. They are fights over the values that define us as Americans. Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security were built on promises that we have made to each other about who and what kind of country we want to be and what kind of society we want to live in.
That's pretty good. It's pretty well worded. Yeah, I can't say I'm mad about any of this messaging. It's pretty fucking aligned. The Fight Oligarchy theme is pretty aligned as far as I'm concerned with Neogenian principles so far.
Healthcare and Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, these are not promises from politicians to people. They are not charities or handouts from billionaires to the working class. This is our money. They are promises that we have made to each other as Americans. From neighbor to neighbor, teacher to student, friend to friend. And what we can say to Elon Musk is get out of our healthcare.
Fuck you. What we can say to Elon Musk, fuck you. And your fucking catcher mitt face. Fucking rectangly ass body.
To me, Greeley, the strength of our country is not just measured by the height of our best days. It's measured by who we are and who is there for us on our worst. And that's why I'm here with you today. So let me share with you exactly what I mean. Because what these folks want to call radical and crazy, I think are just common sense. We live in the wealthiest nation in the...
I'm so sick of getting labeled as radical for this shit. It's like, bro, what the in fucking projection is that? It's starting to make me a little morally gray. Is the best way I can say that.
History of the world. So I believe that when a person gets sick, they shouldn't go bankrupt. Common sense. I believe that a minimum wage should cover the minimum cost to live. Common sense. And by the way, we should see that not paying a living wage is also a form of corporate welfare and handouts. Because big companies like Wall...
I was just writing in my critical writing class about, because the teacher was doing just like a basic exercise, and she's like, write something that you're passionate about, and people, kind of like a movement thing, and some people were like, oh, care for animals and things like that, which I think is lovely, by the way. I'm not dogging it, but I'm just like, UBI, universal basic income, like, fucking give people money to live at the basic necessities at least. And then if you want to have like some capitalistic aspects where they want like a bigger house or a house in a different location or this, that, or the other, fine, work for it. But like, fucking give people money. Like, let them fucking live, eat, like at the basics, fucking put a shirt on their back, my god, and with no strings attached. And I just really don't give or a shit or buy into this whole, well, humans are just naturally lazy, so if you give them money, like, then they're not going to want to work. Like, I think if you think that way, you're miserable, first of all, and very uninnovative when it comes to thinking about other people. And I don't know, I think you should have a look in the mirror when you think that way, that people are just naturally fucking lazy. I'm going to play this. I have to pee. I'll be
Walmart
right
and
back.
Amazon rely on food stamp programs and public assistance to cover the wages that they won't pay. Greeley, here's another crazy radical idea for you. I believe that homes are not slot machines for investors and Wall Street. To extort working families out of every last dollar that we have. Home is sacred. And when your landlord doubles your rent overnight, or when housing prices skyrocket because Wall Street treats our housing market like a casino, your government and your public servants should fight to help you keep an affordable roof over your head. How's that for crazy? And I believe that our elected officials should take on abuses of corporate greed everywhere we find it. We must get big money out of politics. And Greeley, that's why I don't and never will take money from industry lobbyists or corporations. You know, mass media and Fox News and the right will have you believe that these American values are something out of the Communist Manifesto. They believe that we think these things because we went to some fancy college and read them in a book somewhere. But I'll tell you, I don't believe in healthcare, labor, and human dignity because I'm an extremist or a Marxist. I believe it because I was a waitress. Because I've scrubbed toilets with my mom to afford school. Because I've worked double shifts to keep the lights on. Because I lost my dad to cancer as a kid and
I don't know, people who are like super paranoid about Marxism and things like that, like, I know they haven't fucking read any of that. Either that or they have and they don't understand it because they're so fucking privileged. Shout out to Marx. I'm not like, oh my god, I love Marx. Like, yes, put it in my face. Like, it's just, I think it's worth reading. Definitely. More so than
to
not.
see my mom open hospital bills in the days after. And I don't want us to...
Yeah, Marx says Marx isn't scary. No, it's not. It's read the Communist Manifesto, seriously, before it's like banned forever in this country. But like, just read that shit, man. Come on. Anytime somebody's like, don't read this, it's scary, it's like, I have to read it. Thank you. I thank you for piquing my interest. Now it's
live
Christmas.
like this anymore, Greeley. We deserve better than this. And this isn't just about Republicans. We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us too. Communities choosing and voting for Democrats and elected officials who know how to stand for the working class.
Well, I mean,
I want to thank the entire state and each and every one of you for working.
See, that's where I get, it's like electing officials that like stand up for you. It's like, okay, I don't know, but I have so many thoughts at once about that. It's just so disappointing. It's like, all you to vote. Go out and vote your way out of this. Like, is that really working so far? Because it seems like it's not. I don't have any answers or solutions to that. Just thinking out loud.
Working so hard to make that happen. And I'll tell you, when people want to think that there's no hope out there, trust me that there are moments of bravery that are emerging. Last week, Republicans put on the floor a draconian, awful budget bill that cut billions from health care and from working people. In fact, one of the worst parts of what Republicans voted for, including Gabe Evans voted for last week, is cutting benefits for the PACT Act for veterans exposed to burn pits. Who does that? That's like cartoon villain stuff right there. And you know, but I will say, Colorado, that when other Democrats caved, your senators, Michael Bennet and John Hickenlooper, stood strong against the DC pressure and voted no. They said Colorado deserves better than this. Thank you for putting in that work. And in fact, all the Democrats in the state of Colorado in Congress who represent a congressional district in the state voted against that bill too. House, Senate, everybody. So I want to thank Diana DeGette, Joe Neguse, Jason Crow, Brittany Pedersen. Defend them, Colorado. And don't stop there. I want you to look at every level of office around and support Democrats who fight, because those are the ones who can actually beat Republicans.
I mean, yeah, if you're going to support somebody who's like more focused on this narrative of the oligarchy versus like working class, because, you know, like I said, in my personal opinion, I think this is what's going to go for us, is kind of what the reality is. It's the only narrative that's going to get rid of this sort of left versus right bullshit and group us all together as one. We've seen this happen, this sort of unification start to happen with Luigi Mangione. And how both people from right and left were in support, pretty much, of, you know, Luigi Mangione not being treated like a terrorist. So it's there. It's there. It's just, it needs to be poked and prodded, and like we need to put coal on that fire. We need to get that going. Okay, we need to get that more collective identity going for all of us.
But our work isn't done here, because you know which Coloradans did vote to gut Medicaid and jack up health care costs? Gabe Evans and Lauren Boebert right next door. So folks, you know what that means, right? We need to come together and spend every day between now and Election Day working to educate our neighbors and give Evans and Boebert the boot and replace them with a brawling Democrat who will stand for Colorado. In fact, if you will indulge me for a moment, since Gabe hasn't been around here, if we could just say hi to him for a moment. Can we just say hi?
Sass.
See you in November. Thank you. I'll make sure he sees that.
The sass. That's actually funny.
But beyond elections, Greeley, our task here is to build community.
Yes.
That's the deeper mission that we have. Elections, they come and go. We do our work. We set the board. But in the meantime, and during, throughout, before, and after all of that, we need to build our bonds with each other as communities. Building community, block associations, neighborhood groups, volunteer groups, church organizations, PTAs, because community is the most powerful building block we have against.
I've been seeing a lot of people like that who are fighting against this sort of shit say this. Like, one of the biggest thing that's driving forward is get together with your community. And it doesn't matter what the fuck it is. Like, it could literally, like, be your D&D session. Like, with your friends there if you get like politically spicy or something like that. Like just get together with your community. And this is definitely a time for Neogenians to get together and rise and show the world that we are on this side. So get out there, speak up, connect with your fellow Neogenians, and go make some noise. Go fucking make some noise. Like, open your mouth, scream. Irritate people.
Fascism, to defeat authoritarianism, and to root out corruption. If you don't know your neighbor, it's easier to turn on them. That's why they want to keep us separated, alone, and apart, scrolling on our phones, thinking that the person next to us is some kind of enemy. But they're not. So I'll end where I began. We might all come from different places, but we share a lot of the same experiences. So to all of those who came here today unsure of whether this is where you belong, I want to tell you that you do. You do. Honestly, no matter who you voted for in the past, no matter if you know all the right words to say, no matter your race, religion, gender identity, or status, no matter if you disagree with me on a couple things, if you are willing to fight for someone you don't know, you are welcome here. If you are willing to fight for working people, regardless of who they are, how they identify, or where they come from, you are welcome here. But I will say this. Those leaders on either side of the aisle who are willing to put their fellow Americans down so that they can get ahead or feel better about themselves, those folks may best find a home somewhere else. Because in this house, we stand together. We know that that is our only choice. Because we know that without exception, if we stand together, it is the only way that we can win. So I hope that you see this movement is not about partisan labels or purity tests, but about class solidarity. It's about the thousands of you who came out today to stand together and say our lives deserve dignity and our work deserves respect. No matter who we are or where we come from. We are here today to make a sacred promise to each other. Because our goal here today, and what I don't want for us today, what I want more for us today, is not just to come together, share a few inspiring words, and then go back to how things were. Can't do that. Our goal here today is to commit to building the kind of country we all deserve. So I'm going to take another second here. And I want each of you to turn to the people around you and get a good look. And I want you to greet someone you don't know.
Hello. No, there's nobody in here.
And this is awesome. And I think it's...
Okay, now everybody shut up.
But it's because if I can offer one assignment today, before we all depart here, it's to leave this place connected to a new person you didn't know coming into this.
That's good. That's a good exercise.
Because
that's good. Get people connected.
Really,
that's a good idea.
We do need to make that promise. We do need to take care of
You gotta, I really didn't have faith in like getting out and talking to people face to face. But ever since I've been going to school, especially like in my sociology class, talking to other students who are also passionate about the same topics as me, Like, you realize there's a ton of people that are on the same page. Like, you know, if you're a Neogenian and you're kind of introverted and you just kind of like, you know, hang out with other Neogenians online and stuff, get out there and talk to people about like your ideals and your principles, like that you found. Like, a lot of people, you'll be surprised to find like a lot of people agree with that stuff, you know? Just being a good representative of that goes a long ways. There's a ton of people who are waking up to this, and you know they might be not really expressing that in a way that, you know, that you can see like online or in a post or in a video or something. But if you ask them about it, like, people are pretty. There's a lot of good people out there, like more than not, if you just get out there and look.
Each other on our worst days and to share the successes of our best. And in making those promises to each other, that's how we're going to do it. No silver bullet, not from the top, but block by block.
I don't know, Neogenianism, we kind of have this idea, this concept of just like we're citizens of the universe, you know, like everybody, like we're all in this reality together, right? So we should be definitely, without that whole thing of like, you know, if somebody slaps you, turn the other cheek. Like, that's not what I mean. I don't mean like let people walk all over you, but we definitely need to be more neighborly and connective to each other and more compassionate. Check in on each other.
So thank you for having me. And it is my honor to introduce to you the senator, the man, the friend, the person who has helped bring all of us here together today, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Wait. Music. Hold on. We can't listen to that. We're not allowed. So it says to Mabel, I says. Alright, waiting for the music to end. I heard somewhere that Bernie Sanders actually leans a little too heavily into like support for Israel, but I don't know anything about that, so don't listen to me. What the fuck do I know? Oh. Hello. You can't hear this. Music's over. Alright, stop it.
You know, I was told that you have a little bit over 100,000 people in Greeley. And between the 6,000 who are outside and the 4,000 who are here, I think we got 10% of the community at this rally right now. Thank you. Now, I want to say a word about Alexandria.
Oh, get married already.
When Alexandria was a kid, you correct me if I'm wrong, she cleaned houses with her mom in order to make enough money for the family to survive. And then after she graduated college, she was a barista, working paycheck to paycheck. But what she did, as she looked around her and in her community in Bronx, New York, is she saw that change had to come. And so what she did is decided to run for Congress, and people said, "What, are you kidding? The guy who represents the district was one of the most powerful members of Congress. He had access to unlimited kinds of money." How much money did you have when we started? You started?
None.
None. All right. But she did what real politics is about. Real politics is not sitting at million-dollar fundraisers. It's working with people in your community. And she worked hard, and her friends worked hard, and she pulled off a major upset. And since then, she has been a great member of Congress, but not only that, she has been an inspiration to millions of young people all across this country.
I'm gonna speed this up just a little. Just to get it going.
Now, the reason I say all of that is not just to praise Alexandria, and I love her, but is to tell you and the people of America that what Alexandria did, you can do.
You can do.
There are millions of young people out there who love this country, who are disgusted with what they are seeing, who are prepared to get involved in the political process. So, Alexandria, thank you for being that inspiration.
Yeah, Gen Z is actually pretty fucking politically involved. I'd say probably more so than millennials have been. Millennials have definitely painted the landscape for a lot of new forms of activism and protest, you know, utilizing the internet and things like that. But, you know, millennials, we walked on MySpace so Gen Z can run on TikTok, essentially. But Gen Z is pretty fucking politically involved.
So why are Alexandria and I here today? Why will we be in Denver later this evening? Why were we in Tempe last night? There was an unbelievable number of people coming out. Las Vegas earlier than that. And we'll be in Tucson tomorrow.
Yeah,
why are we doing that? And we're doing that because this country faces a set of enormous crises. And how we respond to this moment will impact not only our lives, but the lives of our kids, future generations. And in terms of climate change, will impact the future of this planet. And what I have to tell you is that given the huge turnouts we have seen already on this trip, it is clear to me that the American people are outraged at what's going on. And the American people are saying loud and clear, we will not accept an oligarchic form of society. We will not accept the richest guy in the world running all over Washington, making cuts to the Social Security Administration, cuts to the Veterans Administration, almost destroying the Department of Education, all so that they could give over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the wealthiest 1%. But it's not just oligarchy we've got to deal with. Under Trump, this country is moving very rapidly to an authoritarian form of society. Today, we have a president who is undermining our Constitution every single day, who is threatening freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. You know, I look back at the civics class that I took in the 6th grade a few years ago. And you probably took the same class. We studied American history. We studied the Constitution.
No.
And it's important to remember.
No, shitty public school, I don't remember that shit.
What we learned back then, and that is that the founding fathers of this country, way back in the 1790s, they had fought a war against the all-powerful King of England and the British Empire. And they're thinking, how do we create a new country in which one person will never, ever have the kind of power that the King of England has? So with a lot of debate, and these are really smart guys, a lot of debate, they said, you know what we are going to do is create a government and a constitution which has a separation of powers. And that means we're going to have a executive branch.
Funny how America breaks away from, England, like a kid running away from home, only to grow up and find out that they're just like their dad.
And a president, a lot of power. We're going to have a Congress, a lot of power. We're going to have a judicial branch, a lot of power. And that is what they put together. And that is precisely what Donald Trump today is trying to undermine. First Amendment to the Constitution is the all-important freedom of speech. And in a way that is unprecedented, Trump is trying to intimidate the media and anyone who speaks out against them. He loves the media when they fawn all over him. But like other cowards, he can't stand to be criticized. Trump has sued ABC, CBS, Meta, and he sued the Des Moines Register because he didn't like a poll that they did. His FCC is now threatening to investigate PBS and NPR. He has called CNN and MSNBC illegal. In other words, the so-called leader of the free world is afraid of freedom.
Yeah. Okay, so Lee says, what do we think? Is there any substance or just a bunch of promises? And then Mark says he's laying it down cold. There are observations, not promises. I'm not seeing any promises here. What I'm seeing is a call to action under a united message of working class against the oligarchy. This is definitely more of a call to action rather than giving promises.
Well, Mr. President, if you are too cowardly and too vain to accept criticism, then get out of politics.
Yeah, really.
Because that is precisely what democracy is about. That's what the beauty of democracy is about. It's your ideas and my ideas, and we argue about them, and we vote on them. It's not do as I want, or I'm going to investigate you. But it is not just the media that he is going after. He's going after the constitutional responsibilities of Congress. Congress, under the Constitution, has the power of the purse. And every day, he is challenging that, slashing funding without authority that only Congress can do. Trying to wipe out agencies that Congress has created and only Congress can eliminate. But it's not only the media and Congress that he is going after. The third branch of government is the judiciary, and what they are supposed to do, what the federal courts do, is rule on whether laws are constitutional in their judgment or not, what the president does, constitutional or not. And there have, let me tell you, been many decisions coming down from this Supreme Court that I abhor. Their Citizens United decision, one of the worst decisions ever rendered. Their decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, a horrible decision. But those of us who live by the rule of law understand they have their powers, we have our powers. But now, for the first time, what Trump is doing is saying to a judge who issues a ruling, we don't like that ruling, we're going to get you impeached. President Trump, millions of Americans have fought and died to preserve American democracy. We're not going to let you take it away from us.
Lee says, I just don't know if it seems powerful or not for the everyday people. I will have to look into see how people respond to this. I think it is. This is the narrative we need, mainly because, when you unite people under the working class thing. It dissolves the left versus right, sort of conservative versus progressive, or what, or liberal, or whatever. And then it makes people sit down and focus, like, hey, we're all hardworking people, right? And we're all getting shafted. And we saw a lot of this unification, I said before, bubble up with Luigi Mangione, because a lot of people on the left and the right were pretty much defending him. So right there you see like a unification of working class people and not really disagreeing with each other on something that affects us all. And this is what I think is going to be amplify that sort of mentality of focusing on the issues that we have in common and making sure that we're not getting lost in this whole left versus right shit, and focus on the unification part. And I'm here with it because, you know, when I see people from the right or whatever bullshit, like racist ass people and stuff, like if they leave comments and stuff or say something transphobic or whatever, like I at this point I don't feel angry anymore. I just kind of feel pity. Like I feel pity for them. I do. I pity them. Even for people who voted for Trump and don't really understand what the fuck they're doing, I pity them. It's not a lot of anger now. It's just like I'm sorry for you. Like we're all into this together. Like we're all gonna go, okay? I think the working class narrative is going to.
And we thank all of those veterans who put their lives on the line to defend democracy. But it's not just oligarchy and authoritarianism that is on our minds. All over this country, people are standing up, and they're saying we will not accept a society of massive income and wealth inequalities, a society in which the very rich are getting much richer while millions of working families are struggling to put food on the table. And what people are saying is that in the richest country in the history of the world, we are going to fight for and create an economy and a government that works for all of us, not just the 1%.
Not just the 1%. I do love his inflections.
All right, I'm going to do something radical now. You ready? All right. I'm going to tell you the truth.
Let's go.
I know, pretty radical, but what the hell? Only go around once. That is, I want to take a few minutes to describe to you what is really going on in this country. And it's something that you don't see much in the corporate media, and you certainly don't hear discussed in the halls of Congress. And that is, in America today, we have two separate Americas. On one hand, we have an America in which the wealthiest people have never, ever in the history of our country had it so good. Today, we have more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had. Today, we have three multi-billionaires, Mr. Musk, Mr. Bezos, Mr. Zuckerberg. These three combined own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, 170 million Americans. Now, we don't talk about it much for obvious reasons. But the idea that so few have so much
because
and so
we're
many
so distracted by this left versus right shit,
is not what this country is supposed to be about. And further, let's take
the current, at least as the current public demon lords of the country, they are straight up the demon.
A look at concentration of ownership in the economy. You know what we hear? Kids read in school books. We are a society. People go out, they start their own small businesses. Free enterprise is great. Everybody competes against each other. That ain't the case. Today, you have more concentration of ownership in America than we have ever had in the history of this country in sector after sector. Whether it is agriculture, transportation, media, financial services, what you have is a small number of extraordinarily large corporations who charge us outrageous prices for the products that we have to buy. Now, let me mention just one example of concentration of ownership today. Nobody talks about it. Today, you got three Wall Street firms, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. You ever hear of these companies? Combined, these three investment firms are the majority stockholders in 95% of American corporations. And these guys, I want to tell you something because I bump into them in my line of work. They are not nice guys. I know on TV they come across in your community, they make a donation to the hospital or the Boys and Girls Clubs or to the food shelf. They're just very nice, but they're not. You know, in America today, as I think all of you know, sadly and tragically, and we've got to deal with it, we have major epidemics dealing with addiction. I think we lost 100,000 Americans last year because of drug overdoses, serious problem in my state. We have people addicted to alcohol, serious problems with alcoholism. We have people who are addicted to tobacco. My father smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day and he died before he was 60. People addicted to food. But I will tell you this, in the midst of all of these addictions, the worst and most dangerous addiction we have is the greed of the oligarchs.
Yes. Yes.
Now, everybody wants to do well in life. Everybody wants to make money. But you would think that if you had a few $1 billion or $10 or $20 billion, you would not feel obliged to step on the backs of poor people to become even richer.
Well, I think I was watching Bill Burr talking about Elon Musk, where Bill Burr's just like, doesn't that guy have it made? Doesn't he? I mean, you've got all the fucking money you ever wanted. What's your problem? Instead, he's just like a little fucking penis and has to like cause issues and just like meddle and shit.
But that is exactly what they are doing right now. They are prepared to destroy Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, the Veterans Administration in order to make themselves even richer. And these guys have no sense of what goes on in the real world. They live in another planet. They own mansions all over the world. They go on vacations to their own private islands. When they want to go someplace, they don't go into the car. They go into the planes or the helicopters that they own. Send their kids to the best private schools and colleges. That is their world. Let me tell you about another world, the other America that we don't talk about. And that is today in the richest country in the history of the world, 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. You all know what paycheck to paycheck is? Some of you live in paycheck to paycheck. I grew up in a family, lived paycheck to paycheck. Know a little bit about that. And what that means is people today are wondering, how are they going to pay their rent if their landlord raises the rent by 20%? How are they going to pay $20,000 a year for childcare when they're only making $50,000?
Yo, my landlord better not fucking raise my rent this year, man. My bathroom has been half torn up for like months, like, because there's like leak issues and stuff in my bathroom, and like the property manager is like, well, we got some people, a contractor that's gonna come out and like gut my bathroom. So like my bathroom, like the whole flooring behind the back of my toilet right now is completely ripped up. There's like a hole back there. Every time I sit down and take a shit, there's a breeze up my bum. But it's just like, man, if they try to raise my rent this year, they better fucking pray. They better pray. I will make a scene. Trust me.
$1,000 a year. People want to buy decent, good quality food for their kids. Walk into a grocery store, can't afford that food because the prices of food are sky high. People get sick. Their kids get sick. They're uninsured or underinsured, and they're saying, how in God's name am I going to be able to take my kid to the doctor's office? At the end of the month, people have thousands of dollars in credit card debt, paying 20, 30% interest rates. How the hell do I pay those rates? And what happens if my car breaks down? Something as simple as that happens every day. And I go to the car shop, and the guy says $1,000. Get it fixed. I don't have the $1,000. What do I do? What do I do if I can't get my car and I can't get to work? And if I can't get to work, I get fired. And if I get fired, how do I take care of my family? You know why the American people are angry, and they are angry all over this country? They are angry because, believe it or not, despite a huge increase in worker productivity over the last 52 years, if you could believe it, real inflation accounted for wages today are lower than they were 52 years ago. Meanwhile, there has been a $75 trillion transfer of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%. That is what a rigged economy is about, and that is what we are going to change.
That's what we are going to change. I don't really read that as like they're gonna do. I don't know. I feel like this is a call to action, like rallying everybody up underneath this one unified message. I guess you have to start somewhere. I think I'm just so pessimistic right now, really. Like, I'm kind of like a naysayer on everybody's plan a little bit. I gotta lighten up, frankly. Like, it's not helping everybody.
So let's also take a look at other aspects of American society. Anybody here think our healthcare system is working well? It is a broken and dysfunctional and cruel healthcare system. We are spending twice as much per capita on health care. We're spending $14,000 for every man, woman, and child. Yet 85 million are uninsured or underinsured. You know what underinsured means? How many people here have high deductibles? What kind of deductible do you have, ma'am? You know? $7,500. What do you got? How much? $20,000? Deductible, what do you got? 9,000, 8,000, 7,000. All right, what does all of that mean? It means that even though you have insurance, when you get sick, you still can't afford to go to the doctor. How insane is that?
Yeah.
And you know what the result is? We don't talk about it much. 60,000 Americans die each year because they don't get to a doctor on time because they're underinsured or they're underinsured. And I want
Dude, the amount of people that just suffer like severe like issues by having a infected tooth because dental is so ungodly unaffordable. Like people will they'll be like, okay, well, I'll just let my fucking skull rot open then.
I want to deal with another issue. You'll excuse me for being professorial here and a little bit boring. But it's important that we know this. And here's again a fact never or very rarely talked about. All right? Here's the fact. Despite spending so much on healthcare, our life expectancy, how long we live, is about 4 years younger, 4 years shorter than other major countries. That's bad. That is bad. But I want to tell you what is even worse, and I want you all to think about it and help me out here. If you are working class in America, you will live, on average, about 7 or 8 years shorter lives than if you are wealthy.
Yeah.
In other words, being working
Straight
class
up.
in America is a death sentence.
It
All right,
literally
question.
is.
Why is that? Why is that? Raise your hand. Tell me why. Yes, ma'am. Why? Stress? Stress? All right, stress? Let me deal with that. All right.
Yeah. No, I watched this whole documentary on this like huge study on like stress, and they like did it on monkeys, and like there was certain like social like groups of monkeys where like where there was like dominant males over the groups, and the balance was just so hard to like live with, and like there was so much fighting over food and resources that like the monkeys like literally didn't live that long because they're just constantly under stress. But then there'd be some of those same species of monkeys where like the males would like they'd be so dominant and they'd either fight or die, kill each other or something, and then like the female monkeys would take over and the group, and they'd you know really parent like the young males, and even like reject males that like become dominant. And they found that those monkeys lived like significantly longer like without the stress. Like there's like a whole fucking study on this shit, that if you're forced in a situation to constantly like fight for just survival, like it takes a physical toll on your body. You ain't gonna live as long. Like you're not.
The woman here said stress, and she's absolutely right. What kind of stress are working class people living under today? Who wants to help me out on that? Hold on. 1 and a half. I can't get you all. Yes, I see a hand there, ma'am. Survival. Okay. Stress means you're trying to survive every week. Okay, more, ma'am.
Yes.
I own a small business and I can't get corporations to pay their bills. Yes, ma'am. Financial stress. Yes, ma'am. Taxes. Tuition. Yup, way back there, ma'am. What? Safety. Okay, yes. What? Dental.
Safety.
Dental.
Safety. If you can't afford to live in an area or a neighborhood that's like relatively safe, I mean, yeah, you can't even afford safety. You're forced to live in like the shittiest of neighborhoods.
Thank you for raising that issue. Anybody have a problem with the cost of dental care in America? Bloody right. All right, other issues. Yeah, I see I have young man back there. Yeah. Workplace safety. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Mental health. All right, look, we can spend 2 hours going on here. But here is the bottom line. When you are struggling paycheck to paycheck, you are worried about how you survive every single week. And doctors call this almost the physiology of poverty. That stress that you live with 24 hours a day eats away at your body and your mental health. And that is the major reason why working class people are dying 7 years earlier.
And it's a major reason why a lot of working class people just do fucking drugs. it's just, it's like, well, why would you do drugs, or why would you drink, like, if you could save your money. It's like, bitch, I ain't affording a vacation. The best vacation I got is taking a bunch of hits off the Benjamin and having a six-pack, okay? That is about as thrilling of a fucking vacation as I can get.
Than the rich. It is a shame, but it's more than a shame. It is unacceptable. And the point that I want all of you to get ingrained in your heads, look, if we were a poor country like Haiti, a really poor country, I would say to you, well, I'm sorry you don't have good health care. Sorry you don't have good dental care. Sorry you can't send your kids to college. We're a poor country. We can't afford it. Brothers and sisters, we are the richest country in the history of the world. There is no excuse for working class people dying 7 years earlier than the rich. There is no excuse that 1 out of 4 Americans cannot afford to fill the prescriptions that their doctors write for prescription drugs. There is no excuse that in the richest country on earth, 800,000 Americans are homeless, and 20 million people, including people in this room, pay 40, 50% of your incomes for housing.
Yeah, I mean, getting passports and getting out of here is just, like, not... That's a pipe dream. I mean, like, if you can do it, do it. But, I mean, especially, like, for trans people these days, like, there's no getting passports. Like, the amount of trouble and actual, like, harassment trans people have been given just to, like, get their passports to get somewhere else. Like, I mean, it's getting to the point where, like... I think it's, like, in Texas, trans people can be charged for fraud. Like... just for having, like, markers that label them to their actual gender instead of the one that was assigned to them. Those are the kinds of things I think. I can't afford to move out of this country. Are you kidding? And so, unless somebody gifts that to me, like, it's just not happening. And even if I do, I'm going to have to make a passport and just pretty much detransition for the time being.
No excuse that our child care system is a disaster, outrageously expensive while workers there are being paid low wages. No excuse that our public schools are struggling, trying to get teachers. I mean, I am luckily, and this is like a lucky thing that I realize is a privilege to have. I live in California, and California is definitely more of like a sanctuary state. So, I mean, I don't see any reason to leave the country yet just because of like where I live. That doesn't mean that other people don't have that luxury, which I think is a luxury at this point. I definitely feel like I have a little bit of, survivor skill issues of that. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. No teacher in America should make less than $60,000 a year. So, my friends, why is all of this happening? Why is it that the rich get richer and working class people die younger than they should? Well, it has everything to do with the fact that we're living in an oligarchic form of society. I've been talking about that for a few years.
I'm liking this message. I like the message. I'm just taking this in as the message that they're delivering this. Like, Bernie pretty much is just like, do you feel sick, run down? Can you not fucking stop, like, drinking, smoking pot and whacking it because life sucks? It's because of the oligarchy. Yeah, I think I'm down with this. Like, are you sitting naked in a beanbag eating Cheetos? You don't have the desire for anything else. It's the oligarchy. Like, let's do it. Let's do it. I like this narrative. Let's do it. You see this cheap beer? You know why I have this cheap beer? The oligarchy. That's why I drink cheap beer on my birthday. I can't afford a fucking private island vacation. Why? The oligarchy. Why do I occasionally buy a can of Easy Cheese just to squirt it directly into my mouth with no crackers to help? The oligarchy. I'm just gonna constantly blame that now. Every fucking, like, estranged, like, messed up thing I do, I'm gonna blame it on the oligarchy.
But I think the rest of the world is catching on to what I was talking about. And the reason is you gotta be dumb and blind not to see what's going on. You got a President Trump getting inaugurated, and I must tell you, one of the more bizarre experiences of my life was I was kind of pushed into the front row of that. And there I am, there's Trump, and right behind him You got Musk, Bezos, and Zuckerberg. Three wealthiest guys in the country. And then behind them, you got 13 other billionaires who Trump nominated to head up various government agencies. You know, Abraham Lincoln talked about a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Well, Trump has a government of the billionaires, by the billionaires, and for the billionaires. And what these guys are busy doing right now is going after Medicaid, going after Social Security, going after nutrition. Rich want to get richer, and they don't care who they step on. Now, it is imperative that we fight Trump every step of the way. And by the way, it is not just on domestic issues. This country has a 250-year history, and never before have we had a president ally himself with a terrible dictator like Vladimir Putin. And on top of that, Trump wants to continue the disastrous policies of the Biden administration and provide more funding for the Netanyahu government to destroy the people of Gaza. All right. Our job, though, is not just to play defensive. We've got to get on the offensive as well. And that means having a vision of where we, as the wealthiest nation on earth, the longest standing democracy on the planet, where do we want to go? What kind of nation do we want to become? And for a start, the profound issue that must be dealt with is we must end this corrupt campaign finance system. Now, I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, or Independent. I don't think there's anybody who thinks it vaguely makes sense that the richest guy in the world can spend $270 million to get Trump elected and then become the most powerful person in the government. It's not just Republicans, let's be clear. Billionaires are funding the Democratic Party and preventing that party from standing up for working families.
Yep.
Bottom line, we need to end Citizens United, move to public funding of elections. Trump wants to give massive tax breaks to billionaires. Our view.
Call me naive, and maybe I just don't understand. I just think that's so fucking stupid that politicians can be, like, funded by corporations like that, like billionaire corporations. Like, I feel like that should be illegal. Like, just straight up fucking illegal, and corporations should not be able to get to vote as entities either. Like, Jesus Christ. For what?
It's time that the billionaires started paying their fair share of taxes. Republicans refuse to raise the minimum wage. We want to raise that minimum wage to a living wage, at least $17 an hour. Musk and Bezos and others want to break unions. We believe in the trade union movement. Workers all over this country want to join unions. They're being stopped by the illegal activities of corporations. We've got legislation in that will end that. Let's pass the PRO Act. Trump and his friends want to cut Social Security. We're going to expand Social Security by lifting the cap. Trump and his friends want to cut Medicaid. Well, we got a different idea. We're going to join the rest of the industrialized world. Guarantee health care to all. It's a human right. We're going to fight and pass Medicare for all, single payer. In a competitive global economy, we need the best educated workforce in the world. Young people should not go broke or in debt because they want to go to college or a trade school. We desperately need doctors and nurses and teachers and carpenters and sheet metal workers and construction workers. We need to make sure our people get educated without going into debt. We need to make our public colleges, universities, and community colleges tuition free.
Yep.
We need to save the planet.
Save the planet.
And create millions of good-paying jobs by transforming our energy system. All right, we need an EMT, please. All right, we got a medical issue. Medical issue. Somebody fainted? All right, we need some help here, please. Security. All right. All right, they're on the way from the back. Let's take a break for a moment.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I love it when people do that. You know what I love? I love when like major artists are putting on concerts and they will literally stop like mid-song and point out somebody in the crowd that's like having a medical emergency and be like, "Everybody stop. Like, we got to take care of this." And then they'll start the song over again or something, but it's like that this is important. Good management. There's a fucking mouse in my house. There's a fucking mouse in my house! Okay, looks like my roommate set up a trap and it's caught in there. I have a mouse in a trap. I'm just gonna close the door. Alright, okay. So there's a mouse in my house that got caught in a trap just now, and, it's on its way to the end. I'm sorry if that's I'm sorry if that's disturbing to you. I have had a long history of ending species of rodentia, so it's kind of like good riddance for me. But anyways, yes, drama, mouse in the house. The perks of living in a forest. I know, you can like capture these things and like release them like more ethically. I don't. If you could only understand the amount of fucking like critters that are around my house, like living in the forest, like this is just, it's also my fault for feeding the birds because there's bird seed everywhere. Anyways, away from the drama, I think we're pretty much done. I think I might be pretty much done.
What?
Zeus says, well, a giant hole behind your toilet, I guess you don't need to wonder how they get it. Yeah, they get in through there, or they like to crawl, because I have those gas heaters that are really tall against the wall that go all the way down to the floor, and they like to get through there. Luckily, I haven't had any rats. The rats was a bigger issue. This is like one tiny little dude. So... I can see him right now. Okay, he's moved on. The monad has moved on. Anyway, sorry. I have such a dark sense of humor. I'm just imagining people like horrified right now, and I'm just laughing. Sorry. Okay, I don't want hantavirus, okay? I don't want the plague. Or tiny little mouse droppings all over my fucking room.
Are we okay? Okay, good. All right. Thank you. You know, Trump and his friends talk about freedom. Well, in a free society, we must absolutely guarantee that it is the women of America who control their own bodies, not the government.
Yes, bitch. Wait, what's the lighter for?
Look, let me end on this note. And the note is that this is a very difficult time in the history of our country. It's not the first difficult time that we've had. Remember, we've gone through a civil war, we've gone through slavery, we've gone through workers.
We're headed for another. I swear to God, I don't know why, but it is just ripe on my bingo card for a lot of protests and riots this year, like in this summer. Like, we are just getting warmed up, honeys. Just you
trying to form unions and getting beaten up and killed.
If it doesn't happen, I'll eat my hat. But, like...
We've gone through a depression.
Yeah.
We've gone through 1941 being attacked and not knowing how to respond. We've gone through a lot of things. But this is what I believe, the essence of, I think, what we are about. And that is, if we stand together, if we care about each other, if you care about my family and I care about your family, if we don't believe that the goal in life is just to make billions and step on other people and to lie, cheat, and steal, if we believe that love and compassion is what motivates us.
Yes. Yes. I like this messaging. It's good messaging.
Now, if there are some Republicans here, Republicans watching it on the live stream, Republicans did not vote for Donald Trump in order to give tax breaks to billionaires and cut Social Security. Believe me, they didn't. And the reason that Trump has been successful and why demagogues around the world are successful, you know what they do? They play one group off against another. They're telling you who you're going to hate. And our job is to do exactly the opposite. The right wing wants to divide us up based on the color of our skin, or where we were born, or our religion, or our sexual orientation. And our job is to come together. Now, I don't have a PhD in mathematics, but I do know this, that 99% is a hell of a lot larger number than 1%.
Yep.
So if we stand together, are strong, are disciplined, are smart, I have every...
Hello, didn't we all watch A Bug's Life? Or y'all remember that movie, A Bug's Life, with like the grasshoppers that come in? And then there's like the one ant that like they come in to like steal the food from the ants. And then there's that speech by the one grasshopper that's like one ant isn't an issue, but like all of them at once, like they're gonna overtake us. Like that's totally a thing. I mean, it's like, yeah, there's 99% of us and 1% of them. Just saying, there's some leverage there. Make of that what you will.
Every reason to believe, deeply in my heart, that not only will we defeat Trumpism, but we can create the kind of nation that we deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, all right, cool. Well, pretty on board with the message here of fighting oligarchy and sort of unifying under the identity of working class, which would, as I've said plenty of times before, would sort of start to erode that sort of left versus right narrative. You know, we've seen the erosion with the incident with Luigi Mangione, and the way that the people on the right and people on the left like came out in pretty much on the same page about the issue. This can happen again, and I think this is a good message, and frankly, what the hell else are we supposed to do right now, honestly? We have to unify under some umbrella of narrative here in order to take over this, so why don't we just call it what it is? And that's what I like about this message. It's like, this is an oligarchy. It's us versus the oligarchy, and that us part is like the community building, it's the reaching out, and it's, you know, you might have to lend an ear to somebody who voted for Trump. Maybe they don't really know what the fuck they did, and they're feeling very discouraged and overwhelmed by the things that are happening that they don't quite like. You know, maybe if somebody's on that level, like, get out and talk to people. I think that's just like my my theme for this year, is just get out and fucking talk to people, because I guarantee you're going to find somebody who has the same principles and ideals as you. Even if, you know, if you're like a really introverted Neogenian or something, and, you know, you don't get out much, get yourself out there, start talking to some people, get face to face, you know, get connected with other communities that share similar ideals. Start talking to them. So that I think is like a really good thing to do in defense against what's happening in the world right now, is the community building and the breaking down of and eroding of these sort of popular issues of barriers of left versus right, conservative versus liberal, like all this fucking shit. Let's drop that. Let's refuse to fight that way. Let's make the friends out of enemies, you know? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, sort of thing. So adopt a right-wing shitbag. Team up, okay? They got some interesting ideas. What time is it? Man, we've been streaming for almost 2 hours. I am bent. You know, I was talking about the sociological symposium that was coming up that I applied for. I didn't get into it, and it was really sad because there was like 15 people who applied for it, and when my professor applied for funding for it, he was only granted like a quarter of the financial of the money that he needed. So literally it boiled down to like he could only choose like 4 students, 2 from the campus that I go to, and then 2 from like a different community college. So that kind of fucking sucks, but I understand. I mean, like, funding for education is really under fire right now, so, you know, hopefully I can go to that next year. Yeah, a little disappointing, but it is what it is. 'Tis what it is, my friends. It's good to know it's still going on, though. So, all right. Oh, Jesus. What do I want to do? Well, it's my birthday tomorrow. Like I said, I'm turning 37. I would like to spend tomorrow. What do I want to do? I never think about my birthday until it's like right up on my ass. I think I would really love some sushi tomorrow. And it's supposed to be like a really nice day. So I'm going to see if I can get my friend, my beautiful lavender partner, to go take me for a drive or something and go get outside and eat some sushi. Maybe I want a little whiskey in the evening. A little smoky, couple of smoky glasses of whiskey, and I'd like to start a new novel. I'm really into my novels, so just constantly reading. Thank you so much for all the happy birthday wishes. Yes, turning 37. Very interesting time. Very interesting time. Yeah, sushi, maybe a little whiskey, and some sunshine. I think that's all I want tomorrow. Sushi, whiskey, and sunshine. That's it. That's all I want. Lee's like, happy birthday, you're on the East Coast, so I think I looked at, like, when I looked at my birth certificate, it's like up in my closet right there. I'm not getting up though. But I was born like at the time was like it was a little after, before or after 1:30. It was either like 1:20 something or 1:50 something in the afternoon that I was born. So, and I was born on a Wednesday, March 23rd, 1988. Jesus. I have mixed feelings about getting older, but we already talked about that, so if you missed it, go ahead and rewind back and you can see that conversation. Anyways, I just wanted to say I really appreciate you all coming out here and hanging out with me on these live streams. It really means a lot to me, and it's so nice to be back to live streaming. I think this is the third stream back now, so it's really nice to be back at it and with fresh new eyes. And it is spring break too. That's another awesome thing for me. Like, not only is it my birthday tomorrow, but like all of next week I have off of school. I don't have to like do any, I've caught up in my homework enough to where like I don't have to make up for anything or do anything over the spring break. So I have an entire week to just veg, and boy am I gonna veg. It's just, I'm gonna go full Dionysus, man. Like everything except for like the drunken orgies that make me see like spiritual realms, because I don't have anybody to do orgies with. But I am just gonna go full Dionysus and just, I don't know, wandering around the house naked or something. I don't know, just be completely compulsive and just not have any plans. Compulsive. Let's make poor decisions. That's what I want to do this week. I want to make poor decisions. I need that, okay? There's so many people in the world right now that are not being held accountable for their poor decisions. I want to make some, okay? Just let me get into some trouble here. Oh. Anyways, thank you so much to our beautiful moderators, Mark, Elise, and Cassie, for coming and hanging out and making sure our live stream chat is chill. It's always chill. We're always chill here. This is always a safe space for you all to come and veg. And then, yeah, all right. Have a good weekend, and we will see you next week. Let's get some outro music real quick. Let's get a little outro music. Where am I clicking? I don't even know anymore. No. Oh my gosh, cancel. What in the YouTube bullshit? I swear to God, like I'm on these websites. I know where things are. Then sometimes I pull up a website and then I'm like clicking around and I'm like, where's that doohickey? Where's that thingy? And like my mind goes blank. I just can't keep up with technology anymore, especially if like for YouTube or like a social media web platform like Instagram or something, or like Facebook, if they change and update the layout and like move the buttons of like where you have to click and stuff. It's like it's like when your local grocery store rearranges itself and you have to learn where everything is again. It just instantly pisses me off. Instantly pisses me off. All right, everybody. I love you. Please have a good weekend. Please drink water. Take care of yourselves, okay? And we'll see you next Friday, my friends. We will see you then. Hang in there so I can see you then, okay? I want to see your beautiful face next week. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes, too. That's really appreciated. Yep, go play your games with Veg. Let's do it. See you later.